This is Rick Rule for Rule Investment Media, sponsors of the Boca Raton Natural Resources Investment Symposium, July 7 through 11 in Boca Raton, Florida. Whether you attend live, which would of course be my preference, or join thousands of others in the live stream, you need to know that in the 50 hours of programming we give you over 4 days, you're going to absorb more information than you can process. One consequence of that is that we're doing interviews, pre-conference interviews, with every speaker and exhibitor at the conference so that you can allocate your time more rationally, including, in particular, reaching out to some of the exhibitors before the conference or during the conference. The more you put into the conference, the more you're going to get out of it. Note, too, that every public company exhibitor in the conference has been vetted. Specifically, they are owned in accounts managed and owned by me. No guarantee, of course, that if I own a stock, it goes up, but there is a guarantee that every public company exhibitor at this conference, unlike any other investment conference in the world, has been vetted. Today, I interview a friend and colleague of very long standing, Tony Reda, who I've invested alongside, I would suggest, for probably 10 or 15 years. Tony, first of all, thank you for your efforts on behalf of shareholders, myself included, and thank you too for your ongoing support of the Natural Resources Investment Symposium.
You're most welcome, and thank you to you and your entire team for pushing the envelope when it comes to creating the best conference. So I just had a conversation with Albert, and he was like, "What can we do better?" And that's exact same kind of question I asked myself and my team, and as we run our exploration company. So kudos to you for continuing to put forward a great event.
Thank you, and of course, thank you to Albert too. Now, Tony, first of all, tell us something about your history. Tell us about you and your team and why we should care about your opinions around your investment thesis.
Yeah, no, well, I guess I'll start off by saying myself, I started out at the age of 21, buying my first stock, which for better or worse, that was in 1995, just to add a bit more context, was a mining stock. And I got a flavor for the industry, the good and the bad. Bre-X followed in 1997, and it left a sour taste in my mouth. So that's kind of what started framing my re-entering of the space in 2005. I wanted to work with a legitimate, science-backed, exploration-proven company, and that was Kaminak Gold Corporation in 2005. I was hired. I was the second hire. The CEO was the first hire, and off we went. We met a gentleman by the name of Rick Rule in Carlsbad. That was 2006, and you were the lead order on our first big public financing. It was a $3 million raise. I remember at 60 cents. Long story short, off we went as a prospect generator. And in 2009, we found this project called the Coffee Gold Project, drilled it for the first time in the history of the project in 2010. And lo and behold, we made a discovery. Fast forward to 2016, raised 165 million, found 5 million ounces, produced a very robust feasibility study, and was acquired for 520 million. Now, that's my success. And some of the people at Tectonic share in that success and that endeavor. But I will say what our team brings forward is that we cover all the different aspects of what makes a great exploration business. So it's not just geology, it is capital markets, it is permitting, it is environmental, ESG, it is also M&A and production. So everyone on our team, from legal, we have a well-known resource lawyer. We have an environmental biologist that's been involved in the permitting of 9 mines. We have capital markets people such as myself and Ira Thomas that have raised Ira probably over $500 million in her career, and probably a soon-to-be mining Hall of Famer. So we bring an action-packed, multidisciplined team to the table that knows what moose pasture looks like, and also knows what a production scenario looks like. So I think that's definitely, slightly different than what most companies can potentially offer.
So you're engaged in district scale exploration in Alaska, which is, of course, attractive moose habitat.
Yes.
Tell me something about what it is in a very broad sense that you're trying to accomplish with this district scale exploration in Alaska. Tell us how you choose terrain, and then tell us how you propose and have added value.
Yes. So district scale is a term now that's kind of getting maybe bastardized. Our junior mining industry has a way of taking these keywords and just pummeling them, and sometimes losing context. So size of land position is not the number one indicator of district scale from my perspective. We want to focus on big, and big is tier one type deposits. So Barrick defines that as 500,000 ounces produced annually over a 10-year mine life, and you're in the lower cost quartile. So how do we find that before anyone else has identified that opportunity? So one thing that we look for geological evidence. So, the mineral belt, has it produced a tier one deposit before? And currently the project we're focused on is called the Flat Gold Project. It sits in the same mineral belt that hosts a 40 million ounce gold deposit. So that box is ticked. We know the mineral belt has that capacity. Then we look for evidence, show me the smoke. And where there's smoke, there's fire. So in this case, this flat project has 1.4 million ounces of historical placer production, literally spilling out of the main target, which is 6 kilometers by 5 kilometers wide. It's an intrusion target. And you can see on our website or presentation, or just even do a Google Earth, you can see placer draining out of this target. In addition to that, we have a 6 kilometer wide geophysical anomaly. We also have a 4 kilometer long golden soil anomaly. And the golden soil anomaly in an unglaciated terrain, that's another layer of yes, ticking the boxes. And then we have 74 drill holes where every hole has hit gold. We don't have one hole that's come back as a duster. That tells us that we can trust the soils, we can trust the geophysics, and it's highlighting the fact that this system was so robust that over 2 kilometers of drilled strike, we have gold penetrating right through into the wall rock. So these are the kind of the cues that we look for that say, hey, we're onto something significant here. Let's pay attention. Let's keep advancing the property.
So what we've decided now, if I'm understanding the story correctly, is that we have the potential for a tier one deposit based on coincidence anomalies, based on non-glaciated soil samples, more importantly, probably based on drill holes
Yeah.
and surface sampling. Tell me something about the target, and tell me what the next major unanswered question is. What I think
Mm.
juniors need to do is they need to increase the market certainty with regards to the efficacy of their exploration project. In other words, answer a series of unanswered questions. So tell me what the next unanswered question is, how you evolved that question, and how you
Mhm.
propose to test it.
Yeah, so I would say from my perspective, which may not always coincide with the market's perspective, is the next biggest catalyst or de-risking event for this project, which may not be as sexy to most retail investors, is the metallurgical testing that we are on the cusp of launching. Before we drilled this project, so that was last year was our first drill program. We were fortunate to have 55 historical drill holes where most of the diamond drill core was stored in a warehouse. So we did metallurgy. As you know, Rick, metallurgy can make or break every project. It's a key indicator for what transitions a project from moose pasture with some drilling to, say, potentially economic. So we did metallurgy, came back extremely favorable, 95, 96, 99% recovery. And we did a multitude of tests. It wasn't just one metallurgical test program. This year, we've now launched the next rendition of the metallurgical testing, and this is going to be formal column leach testing. And column leach testing is the number one sort of indicator for something that's heap leachable, demonstrating that this project is heap leachable, along with potentially yes free milling. It will give a major or us the options on how we want to advance this. And heap leaching is the lowest cost of gold extraction available to mining companies. So that's something that has been kicked off. We'll get results in the next 2 to 3 months here that I think is going to be instrumental in unlocking the economics of this project.
Um, I guess some might accuse you of putting the cart before the horse, but
Yeah.
we'll investigate that later. Alaska has been challenging for some people in terms of the lack of infrastructure and the high costs. It takes a deposit of the sort of ilk of Fairbanks or Pogo
Mhm.
to make it work. How would you
Mhm.
comment on the infrastructure? How would you comment on the cost to explore relative to the size of the prize in this instance? Do you have sufficient infrastructure, as an example, that an open pit heap leach will be economic here, like Fairbanks?
Yeah, so we do, as far as infrastructure is concerned, on site we have a 4,000 foot long airstrip that can accommodate a Hercules plane. It's the largest payload plane available, 48,000 pound payload. We have some roads that connect the airstrip to most of the zones, and we have gentle, rolling hills. Let's just call it like a plateau. It's not mountainous by any stretch. Then we can get within 15 kilometers to a commercial barge landing site. So that's commercial barging materials to and from the properties is the one of the most affordable ways to get things in and out. Now, going to your comment about the cart before the horse, and also about this project. Yes, it is quote unquote remote, you might say, but most tier one deposits aren't hiding right next to a highway. So this is why we do things like metallurgy, because I'm looking at these projects not from a drill play perspective, but from a mining opportunity. I don't want to waste your money, and I don't want to waste my money if we can't demonstrate economics early on, even without a formal feasibility study. People say, "Oh, how can you demonstrate economics?" Well, I know that in general, heap leach projects lower capex, lower operating costs, and lower environmental impact. And so if I'm in a remote area, I want to have as much options available to us. And our Coffee Gold project didn't have the Herc airstrip. It was in the Yukon. It did. We built a road, a 35-kilometer long road, and we had commercial barging, and we sold that for 520. And what I would classify as possibly even more remote than what we are working on now. So the metallurgical testing is de-risking, and it's going to address potentially the economics and what kind of scenario we're looking for. We have 2 kilometers of drill strike. It's not a resource estimate, but there's definitely confidence that this project can offer scale. Now it's like, how do we make the grade work? How do we make the metallurgy work? Is there more high grade available? And that's the sort of another leg of the stool, is that we want to go after some higher grade material that in some new areas that hasn't even been drill tested. So that's kind of how we address the remoteness, the economics. We don't have the benefit of a nearby mine. We do have the benefit of a 40 million ounce gold deposit that has all of its permits except for one. If that moves forward, yes, we'll benefit from some of that infrastructure that goes into make that project a mine.
So, as I understand it, you're trying to answer two unanswered questions. One involves metallurgy and potentially process, and the
Yeah.
other involves attempting to find a higher grade core within
Yes,
this large mass of material. Did I understand that correctly?
that's correct.
When might we expect some answers? Do you
Uh,
have any sense of when investors might expect answers to those unanswered questions?
Yes, metallurgical drill core samples have been sent to the lab already. Typically, your leach cycle is 90 days. So, let's just call it 3 months plus to get results out to the market. And then our drill program, we have 2 drills stationed at site. It is contingent on a financing, but we do anticipate getting into the field this summer to fire up those 2 drills to test kilometer long new targets, and then some areas that were previously drilled widely spaced. And when I say widely spaced, we're talking about 200-meter step outs, to go in there and see if we can find some higher grade extensions that could potentially represent some open pit mining starter opportunities. And yes, again, cart before the horse, but I'm reverse engineering what a mine looks like and what we need to do so I can demonstrate that to ourselves, to a potential mining company, and then to the market as well.
Tony, thank you for your efforts on behalf of shareholders, and thank you too for the ongoing support of the Natural Resources Investment Symposium. Should our listeners want to reach out and get in touch and learn more about the company, who should they contact and how should they contact that person?
Well, again, you're welcome, and thank you as well for this opportunity. As far as contacting, I welcome any inquiries, questions, comments. You can reach out to me directly. My email's Tony at tectonicmetals.com. That's Tony at tectonicmetals.com. We also have a website where you can sign up and subscribe to information or submit your queries through that website, which is www.tectonicmetals.com. Look forward to seeing everyone at the conference, and I can't wait.
Tony, I look forward to hosting you in Boca Raton. Thank you again for your sponsorship.
Thank you.